Well, we're going to try live streaming from the computer. Last week I did a live stream from the phone. The phone has its pros as far as being able to, moving stuff around on the screen. But you can carry it around and do stuff. The computer, however, I can show different things and talk about different stuff and have different, what they call scenes. So we're going to try that today. This is going to be kind of an experiment. But I do want to talk about, preppers are crazy, aren't they? I got my little computer over here with the script and stuff. Let's see if we've got anybody. And also, in fact, I'll show you this while I can. Okay. You can move these things around, they say, and every time I do, if I change the page or something, then I end up putting them back where they defaulted from. But like this thing here, I just soon get it out of the way. See if it'll move down. There we go. I want to be able to see live chat. Looks like I got 2 people watching now. That is good. Hello. Nobody's saying anything yet. But as soon as I get this figured out, let's see if I can get this over here. Nope, that didn't want to move. Or did it? Not where I wanted it to. Let's try this. And please excuse, I'm just trying to figure this out. Get the hang of it. There we go. All right. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this out of my way so I can see my screen. And we're going to talk about crazy preppers. And I think it's kind of a funny topic because there are so many different perceptions about preppers. And I've found a bunch of different videos and stuff where people talk about crazy preppers and even a parody. In fact, let's take a look at this now. There's people that if they're not preppers and they think we're crazy, even go so far as to do parodies. And I thought you might find this one kind of funny.
Because I'm preparing for when shit hits the fan. How are we stocked up on dried oil?
Good, we have 3 bottles.
3 bottles.
Now what we have here is about 30,000 pounds of nutrients. This will easily last, let's say 2 people, maybe 3 or 4 cats, 15 years. Another thing we do is we raise cats to later harvest and then pickle. It's a unique method of food supply. We'll eat these. This is an American short hair from the year 2001. We pickled this guy for the Y2K scare.
Avery invest.
Okay, so that is kind of funny. I don't know how much of these videos I could actually play without like getting into copyright or getting people mad. Probably what I'll do is once this is done being live and it just goes up as video, I'll put the links below to each of these videos so they can get their credit. But this was the Real Idiots, and I think it's just a duo that does funny videos. But they had their take on the Doomsday Prepper show, and of which I actually was on at one time. But what happens now, let's see. Okay, so for preppers, when you're confronted by people that, say you're crazy or downplay the things that you do, they all each kind of tend to have their own reactions. And I found some prepper videos where they've had their own reactions. And so I'd like to show those as well. Let's see, this one would be the sarcastic response when someone calls you a crazy prepper.
These damn preppers and doomsdayers and people living off the grid. The hell is that all about?
So that was kind of, he went on to list out all this stuff that preppers do, or the way people think they do it, and he, did it in a sarcastic way, and then he went into an explanation of prepping. So I'll list that down below as well. That was Off Grid with Doug and STACY. Okay, now this one's a little bit older video, and I'm sure everybody will know who this is as soon as I show you. Mr. NeverEnuffAmmo, and his response is what I call the educated response. Here we go.
For you, okay? The government, the U.S. government, are the largest and most paranoid preppers on the planet, okay? They prep for things that preppers like myself haven't even thought of and would never prep for. They have people like NASA and FEMA sitting around thinking of things to prep for just in case.
So that is the educated response, where he's done his research as far as what the government does and who in the government does it, and so he's explaining why he preps based on his education. Let's see, the next one would be this one's a little bit longer clip. Let's see, we got anybody saying anything in here? Nope, no comments yet. All right, the next response would be, let's pull it up. I got to keep clicking windows so that I can change things around. I'd like to find a better way to do that, but okay, this is the deep thinker explanatory response.
And I oftentimes have a conversation with these individuals that goes something like the following. Oh, you're one of those prepper guys. You're waiting for the end of the world, or a huge catastrophe or war, right? You're just a sociopath and can't wait to go around killing people and seeing your friends, relatives, neighbors, and countrymen die in some type of widespread emergency. You just can't wait for this to happen so you can grab your rifle and your tins of Spam and go running around in the woods. And my response is usually...
I just got to pause that. Grab your rifle and your Spam and go running around in the woods. I could do that now. I don't need something to happen.
Usually something like the following. Yes, you're right. I cannot wait until there is an SHTF or a catastrophe, but not for the reasons you state. The reality is that a widespread emergency is not in any way, shape, or form a fantasy. It is almost a foregone conclusion. The cold realities are that the political systems in control of most countries, right, are too corrupt. The economic systems are too unsustainable, and our physical infrastructure is too weak to withstand the vagaries of a very quickly changing planet.
Okay, so that would be the deep thinker explanatory response to when someone calls you a crazy prepper. And if anybody just dropped in, and what I'm talking about is crazy preppers, or the perception that preppers are crazy. And I found some responses from different preppers that they put up on YouTube over the years. And I've been showing them. So let's go to the next one, which would be... okay, this one would be the outlandish, or his response is, "That is outlandish." But I like the way he describes the outlandishness of it.
You know, everybody thinks prepping is because we're waiting on ninjas to drop out of the sky, or we're waiting on atomic bomb to drop, or zombie apocalypse. That's where a fairy tale comes in.
So there you have it. That was, people think that, or his response is, "What you're saying is outlandish. We are not waiting for ninjas to drop out of the sky." Why will not this? There we go. Waiting for ninjas to drop out of the sky. All kinds of fairy tale stuff, and that's just not what's happening. That's not why we prep. So the next one, this would be what I call the throw other preppers under the bus and then try to save face with them. This is the response.
That closet prepper, right? Then there's, what other kinds are there?
Doomsday Preppers.
The Doomsday Preppers. And what are
Oh, the
those?
Doomsday Preppers.
Kind of explain what those are.
The Doomsday Preppers are, at least in my opinion, what I think of.
That's what everybody thinks preppers are.
Yeah. The normal preppers are people walking down the street, and if
Yeah,
people,
but when you say prepper to the average person,
they picture Doomsday Preppers,
prepper.
gas masks, bunkers in the backyard, a tank, what else?
Yeah, and
sea rations or MREs.
Hey, Mick.
in my opinion, if that's you and you can do that, more power to you.
Yep.
But not every prepper is like that. Not all of us can do that. I mean, if you live in the city, you live wherever you live, that everything.
See,
about
now he's saving
restricts
face.
What we can do. So, if you have 20 acres and you have a bunch of money and you've got all this stuff to do that, and you think that it's that important, more
Do it.
power to you. I'm not faulting anybody for anything they do, but there's a slim majority of people who are like that, and that's media kind of likes to betray the extremes of all situations, and that's what we'll talk about with propaganda too.
Yeah, because I.
Okay, so I've had some other people show up. Basically, what I was doing was talking about us crazy preppers and the response that preppers have to people when, you know, they call them a crazy prepper or tell them that what they're doing is dumb. And this is the last response I had, but this one was what I called the throw other preppers under the bus and then try to save face response. And there was a few others back there. So if you want to catch up on that, whenever after this I'm done doing live, you can go back and look at the actual video. But I thought those were kind of funny. But kind of the point is that if you're not a prepper, and I say prepper just because that's what everybody knows it as, you know, being prepared, and so they've got the name prepper. But if you don't think that you need to prepare for any kind of an emergency or anything, then those of us that do, well, you have preconceived notions about us. And some of those are, you can list out. For instance, let me look at my notes here. Like, they think we're conspiracy theorists. You know, stuff like we all think that aliens will invade, and in response, the government will, you know, round us all up and throw us in FEMA camps. Then there's, they think we're crazy militia members. Let's see, let me move this over here. And like I say, bear with me because I'm still figuring out this whole system. But Here, this article, The Organic Prepper. Maybe you've been witnessing the mainstream media's demonization that makes it sound like those in the preparedness community are angry militia members, hoarders, or fruitcakes who are preparing for the next great flood. So that's how we're conceived by some. Preppers are too negative. And I kind of think what, let's see, let's look at that. What they're getting at here is, for instance, in this article, when conversations naturally veer towards topics related to preparedness, that's one thing. But if your stream of emails consists of doomsday alerts from Alex Jones and alike, they will begin to steer clear of you, guaranteed. Let's face it, Doomsday Preppers didn't exactly do any favors for the prepping world. And once again, I will say I was on that show at one time. Too many of their preppers aren't relatable. Many are downright weird, and I guess I'm weird. If this is what your circle of friends and acquaintances see as the norm for preppers, do you blame them for not wanting to join the club? And yeah, I guess that's something that we got to realize is that we've already kind of woke up and we realize how fragile our society is, how fragile our system is, and that something could happen, and we need to be ready for that. And history teaches that. I mean, if you just look through history, you can find where natural disasters, weather disasters, government disasters have happened. And something as simple as losing your job for a while, it'd be good to be stocked up so that you don't have to worry about that, at least until you find another job. But if you're not of that ilk, everything that we say and do could really seem way out there or very strange. Seaway 44, how are you doing? I see you just sent a chat there. Another thing, and this is a good one. Let's go over there and take a look at it. The crazy things that we store. So we store things that people think are odd, but they could also make sense if you let the prepper have time to explain why they're storing it. Like non-lubricated condoms. And it doesn't have to do with, worrying about getting pregnant or worrying about keeping away the STDs. Excuse me. But it's actually the real reason is non-lubricated condoms are such a hot commodity. It has very little to do with protecting your nethers from disease and baby seeds, and way more to do with surviving actual life or death scenarios. Sorry to get all those visions of Doomsday Preppers sex dancing in your head. Anyways. And she goes on throwing a lot of puns into this. But, they can carry water. Hold a lot of things. They're waterproof. They can hold a lot of things. And so actually there's lots of ways to do that. I don't know that you would necessarily need to have condoms to do it, but maybe if you put yourself in what you would call a situation where, okay, I'm going to say it. Think The Walking Dead, they have to go out and look for stuff. Now, I'm not saying there's going to be a zombie apocalypse. I'm not a crazy prepper. But let's say you find yourself in a situation where you have to go out and find things, and you run across, a pharmacy or something where you can pick up some of these condoms. Yeah, you can carry your water in them. So it's not that crazy. All right. Meredith says, hey, Subtac, so many live paycheck to paycheck, perhaps more will get involved once they see the bottom falling out. Very true. But it's going to take, some of them will have a hard time waking up because the alternative to what's going on now for them would be against their normalcy bias, which means they have a bias towards what's normal, and anything else goes against that. And so a lot of people have a hard time waking up to see that. And Mike Plays, hello. All right, let's see. Oh, let's go back to this because there's a couple other things. See if I can get it up there. Yeah, there we go. Dog gear. Well, yeah, you if you've got pets, you'd probably want that. Booze. All right, and a lot of people think that's odd, but without even reading, I could tell you've probably got the ability to barter with booze. And it's amazing, but people will give up their food rations and stuff for a bottle of booze or a pack of cigarettes if they have those inclinations. Anything else on here that might... Lots of different things. But anyways, here's cigarettes are saying people will, just so they can have a cigarette, they'll give up their their food rations. Okay. Another one, and this one is actually kind of scary. They see us preppers as right-wing extremist terrorists. Say that fast 5 times. And this article, another one from the Organic Prepper, goes kind of through that, but she's drawing, or whoever wrote it, let's see, who did write it? Doesn't say. But they are drawing from, and I think this is James Wesley Rawls that wrote this. But he came from his background, and I think he's got contacts. And plus there is also a white paper out there, and I looked for it, but couldn't find it in time to put it up here. But they go through a list of trying to say what extremist terrorists would be on the domestic side. For instance, here we got, so how does a person qualify as a potential domestic terrorist? Based on the training I have attended, here are the characteristics that qualify. Expressions of libertarian philosophies, such as bumper stickers or something. Second Amendment-oriented views, like NRA or gun club membership, holding a CCW permit. Guilty. I must be a domestic terrorist. Somebody's going to take that and edit it into something and make me sound like one. Survivalist literature, fictional books such as Patriots and 1 Second After. Self-sufficiency, stockpiling food, ammo, hand tools, medical supplies. There you go, preppers. We just want to, survive and sustain ourselves and be able to grow our gardens and be left alone. But somehow that makes us domestic terrorists. Fear of economic collapse. Well, everybody should fear that, because that's going to put your world into a world of hurt. Religious views concerning the book of Revelations. Well, if you believe the book is true, you believe the Bible's true, yeah, I'm going to be concerned. Expressed fears of Big Brother or big government. Well, let's see. Vault 7, WikiLeaks, anybody? It's there, isn't it? Homeschooling. Oh my gosh, you want to teach your kids yourself? That's a horrible thing. That makes you a terrorist. Declarations of constitutional rights and civil liberties. That's it. The Constitution. If you like the Constitution, you are definitely a freaking terrorist. Okay, and belief in a New World Order conspiracy. Well, let's see. All the things that are happening on the news, I mean, all the stuff that you read, all the stuff that you see, if you just start putting that all together in your head, what else are you going to come up with? Something's up. It's all kind of meshing together too well. All right, so there's another thing that people think we're crazy for. Let's see here. All right. What I want to do is have you guys throw out there. Let's see. Let me ask you a question. How do you see yourself as a prepper? Do you think that the stuff that you do or the way that you talk to people, do you think that that would scare them, or do you think that it might help them understand? Throw something in the comment in there. Maybe we can get a conversation going. And while we're seeing if anybody wants to respond to that, I thought I would talk a little bit about my experience on the Doomsday Prepper show. What was it? Season 3, I think, is where I was at. And this episode was called Survival is an Ugly Beast. Now, how I got on there was I went to a preparedness show or like a gun show or something, but it was about prepping and preparedness. And we were walking around there looking at it and saw the booth for Doomsday Preppers, and I can't remember the name of the company the production company that did it. But my wife said, look there. And so we went over and talked to her a little bit. And she offered us a water bottle if we filled out their little application. So I filled it out, and I never really expected, to anything to happen. But it wasn't too much longer after that I got called by them. They're out of New York. And they asked me, what I wanted to do on the show. And I had written in that little application thing that I was working on my shelter, and I thought it'd be cool to finish that. And she said, well, we're already doing some like that, but we have some ideas. And so they brought up the invisible treehouse idea. So I thought, okay, well, that'd be cool, because see, they're going to pay for it and build it and the whole bit. So I thought, all right, I'll do this. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, I know that they're going to probably edit this and make me look like an idiot. So I'm going to go into it with this idea of playing it up, just giving it all I got and having fun with it and seeing how crazy I can get. And the odd thing about that is when they actually edited it and put it on TV, it really didn't get any of that stuff in there. There was like one point where I was crouched down in the brush. I had leaves and stuff stuck in my shirts, and I forget the line I said, but that wasn't there. There was another one where, kind of close to the end of the show, where some people come on the property, the dogs are alerted, and we're like, oh man, there's intruders. Get to the treehouse. And so, the family takes off running, and I'm falling behind with the gun. I'll run a little bit, and then stop behind a tree, take a little bit of cover and look, and then take off again. And I was just having a blast with this. Well, I come around and got behind a tree and did my look and everything, and it turned around to start to run, and there was a little twig sticking up out of the ground, and it was strong enough that I caught my foot on it, and it was tall enough that even though I raised my foot to get over it, it wasn't far enough, and I just went toppling over. I stuck the muzzle of my gun in the mud, and I kind of think I might have cracked a rib at the time, because it sure did hurt. But I got up and we cleaned off the gun, and I took off running, and we went on with the show. And I was for sure that that would be in the show, and it never did get in there. But the main thing was also the reason why I wanted to do that is because I wanted to see how they did it, how they came out and actually filmed it. When the producer comes in, or director or whatever she was, kind of tells you what to do and say. They'll ask you questions, and you got to answer them a certain way. Like if they ask you, what's your favorite color? You don't say blue. You say, my favorite color is blue. And that makes sense, because if you just say blue, people watching it's going to go, blue what? What was the other thing I was going to say? they had what they call BTS interviews or no, not BTS, on the run, OTRs, yeah, on the run interviews, where they'll pull you to the side, put the camera up and tell you to look to the side and answer some questions. The only time that you could actually look at the camera was at the very end, where they set up this rail thing in front of you. You sat down at the end of it, and they started the camera way back there, and then they slowly brought the camera towards you, and they went through Engineer 775's evaluation, and of course you responded to that evaluation. And then that's the time that you actually look directly in the camera. But the funny thing about that was we were done at the end of the night. Everybody was tired. We'd been doing it for 4 days. Actually, we did it for 3 days, and the fourth day got rained out. So we postponed it for like a week, and then they came back. So that fourth day was just run hard and get it done. So at the end of the night, we were out. They literally set lights up out on the country road there, because it was kind of level, and luckily no cars came. There's rarely a car that comes through there, and especially at that time of night, it was pitch dark. But here I am sitting there answering these questions, thinking at any time a car could just suddenly come up over that hill, and I'm thinking, which way am I going to run, you know? But what I was learning from that, the reason why I wanted to do that was, like I said, to learn their process. They did it with one camera. They had one guy that ran around there. We'd redo the shots over and over again so they could get different angles, and they could edit that all together. Had a poor sound guy there that was walking around with his kit with all the sound for everybody, and he was constantly having to change my microphones because it was hot. It was summer in Tennessee, and so I was sweating all over my gear. And that poor guy had to constantly change out my microphones. Let's take a look here real quick at some comments. You do sort of remind me of Kenny from The Walking Dead. Kenny. You're going to have to remind me who that is. And that's from Felix. Meredith says, I'm quite practical. Live in Hurricane Alley, Florida. Yeah, you definitely need to be prepared for that. Still, no one really takes it seriously. Everyone panic buys. Yeah, that's something. You ever think about that panic buying? I mean, if they say it's going to snow here, in a matter of hours, there's no eggs, milk, or toilet paper left in the stores. I mean, be prepared. You don't have to worry about that stuff. And what makes you think if it snows, somehow you're going to survive on eggs, milk, and toilet paper? What do we got? Funny how when you talk to people and say, I believe in preparedness for emergencies versus I'm a prepper, you get totally different reactions. That's from Modern Cicero. Yeah, elaborate on that if you could. Are you saying if you say, I believe in preparedness for emergencies, they don't take you as crazy like they would if you just said I'm a prepper? And I'm assuming that's what you mean. And Seaway 44, East Coast meets West Coast. Okay, so let's get back to what I was talking about here. All right, so now I'm going to try to walk through. Hey Hunter, how you doing? I'm going to kind of walk through my prepping philosophy, and I like what the message was there about the difference between preparedness or prepping, being ready for emergency or just prepping. There are lots of things that could happen, and like I said earlier, if the economy could collapse. I mean, look what's going on. and it doesn't matter who's president at this point because the government has just driven the debt up like crazy. I'm in a tornado area here. I'm also in a flood area here. In fact, in 2010, Nashville had that flood that took out the Opry Mills compound there, whatever. They got the mall and the Opryland Hotel, the Grand Ole Opry, took that all out. The Cumberland River rose, and so, and then I'm not too far from a lake right here, and we've got waterways right through my backyard that are connected to that. If it rose, it could come up in here. So there's lots of things that could happen. There's been, like a lot of the food storage, at one point I had a whole bunch of stuff stored up, and for some reason I wasn't out of a job. I don't remember what it was, but for some reason we just started really tearing that stuff up. So I've got to rebuild all that. Oh, I think we got in because I had tons of hamburger that was canned, and we started eating a lot of hamburger on things and completely got rid of most of that. So I got to redo all that. But the bottom line for me is I want to be able to set up the space I live in to be self-sustainable. In other words, I can grow my own food by garden, via animals, chickens, stuff like that, and have it set up to where it works all year long, and I can run, if the power goes out, I can still do it. It'll still produce for me. And then, of course, I've got the bug out land, so if that was to go downhill or for some reason we had to get out of there, we could get to the bug out land. I'm in the middle of building that shelter out there. It's taking longer than I thought it would just because, you know, I got a job and other things I got to do. So I really do wish that was done, but it's not. But I've got plans for that too. It's going to have a loft story on it. It's not a full second story, but it's going to have a loft there where we can put our beds and stuff at. Downstairs, of course, I've got the little root cellar. I'm going to have a wood stove in there, and then I'm going to run solar on it. And so I want to be able to have, you know, a water pump, and I also want to do solar water heater. And there's a couple different ways that I might do that. I'm not sure yet how I'm going to do it, but I've got different ideas. And then like a little shower. And I mean, if you look at these Winnebagos, you know, motorhomes, they're all set up. They can run off their 12 volt systems. And so I was thinking about basically furnishing that with a Winnebago style electrical system, and then run it off solar. But I don't think that aliens or ninjas are going to drop out of the sky. You know, people worry about government, and yeah, there's some worry there, but I don't necessarily see blue helmets coming over the hilltop at this point. But the idea of just being ready for something and then building towards the ability to be completely off grid, and I don't necessarily mean that by saying not having to worry about electricity, but just by being able to take care of myself without having to do it by, you know, having a job and worrying about the income from the job. And I know it could be done. People did it long before we had our currency system. There's drawbacks to the society we're in now because of all the rules and regulations and laws and stuff where it's hard to do that. But there are people that are doing it. So that's kind of where I'm coming from as far as a prepper goes. I want to be able to take care of myself without worrying about the grid. Which, if the grid went down to the point where there's no power and stuff like that, would be kind of a bummer because I couldn't do this kind of stuff right now. no power. But the upside was I wouldn't have to be doing the job that I do right now, which is I program stuff and I send my work back and forth over the internet so I can do it from home. Let's see here. Hunter, today during school we had 3 tornado alarms go off, and during the blood drive I was working at, two tornado alarms. Hunter, where exactly are you? And Mick says, is there some concern you have that will force you to your bug out land, or is your bug out land a place you want to eventually reside? Good question. I don't know that there's anything I see that would like force me to have to go there. But, and I was just thinking about this today. Let's say that a tornado came through and leveled my house. If I survived it, I wouldn't have a place to go. So that would be a great place to go. Anything from that to some of the more spectacular ideas of, blue helmets coming over the ridge. It's time to go. Let's see. Doug, all of us that buy groceries and gas up the car once a week must be crazy preppers. There you go. If you got insurance, car insurance or something like that, we're crazy preppers, right? And according to Homeland Security, we might be domestic terrorists, right-wing extremist terrorists. Like I say, that's a mouthful. Columbus, Georgia. Okay, Hunter, yeah. So you know what the tornadoes are all about. Now, in the spot that I'm in right here, we'll get the tornado warnings during the seasons, and those usually fall as we're heading into spring, and then after summer, and we're heading into fall, because the hot and cold is starting to change and things are happening. And so we get these warnings, but the way where we're at, and I'm thinking of the terrain. I don't think that we're going to really get one to come here. It'll be moved, because the changing terrain will change the temperature, and so anything that starts, unless it starts directly where we're at. Now I say that, knock on wood, next time we have a tornado warning, it's going to come right down my street. But I've been here since 2008, and all the tornadoes have been, north or south of us. Let's see. Meredith worries most about pandemic, solar flare, EMP, nuke war, financial collapse, supervolcano, increased police state, hurricanes, tsunamis, flooding, saboteurs, earthquake, or really any combo thereof. That's a lot of things, and all of those things are possible. And I know that people that aren't preppers and don't really think along that lines, they're busy with their jobs. They think that the system we have set up for delivery of all our goods and services is huge and big and well taken care of, and none of those things could happen. But the one thing that kind of stands out to me in that comment was EMP, and not a natural EMP, but something that, because you can set off an atomic weapon up above us and cause an EMP, and that's what my fear is. I'm slouching down on my chair here. But yeah, those are all possible. Some are more possible than others, but in reality, any of those could happen. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, okay, Doug says ha. What else is on the list here? Well, that about covers it. Any other questions? That kind of covers everything that I wanted to cover. And mainly I was just doing a test here to see if I can get this thing to work right. My plan is to try to do a live stream every Monday about 7 o'clock. And then regular videos on Wednesday and Friday. So, McVader, do you take your prepping to the bushcraft level? Ability to friction fire student of wild edibles. Yes, actually, I probably should talk about that. I haven't done videos on that, but when I talk about like bug out bags and stuff like that, and I'll say philosophy, but everybody says no, it's a strategy, and yeah, it's probably a strategy, is if you're just starting out, build a big, heavy, well-stocked bug out bag and then hope that you're able to carry it to where you got to go. But learn to do all that kind of stuff, just like you mentioned about bushcraft level, where you can start fires and do all this stuff without having to have all those tools. That way you've got less to carry and it's not heavy. So yeah, I do think that is the way to go. Yeah, I slouched in my chairs at school too, Hunter. How did I find my land? Well, when we started looking, let's see, I think we would Google, like land for sale in Tennessee. And that took us to different sites that kind of specialize in that. And I actually went through several different pieces of land. And the one that I really, really wanted was a little over 50 acres. And it was just in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains. In fact, it was so remote that there was actually no road to get up to it. Now, there was a little cut fire road into it, but it was actually going through someone else's property just to get back to where the property that I was trying to buy was at. And when they started doing all the paperwork and everything, going out and appraising it, I think the appraiser came back and said, there's no way to get to it. And we said, well, yeah, there's that road there, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's on so-and-so's property. And so then the idea was, okay, well, let's talk to so-and-so and see if he would sign something saying I got the rights to go to it. Well, first of all, the guy wouldn't sign it. Second of all, the guy's last name was the same as mine, which is a very rare name, especially in this area. You go down Texas and find us all over the place. But anywhere else, they're rare. So whenever I first heard his name, I thought, maybe we got some family that's going to be next to us. Well, the jerk wouldn't do it. And then I was talking to the real estate guy, and he's going, he probably was thinking, I'm not going to sign that because if I don't, nobody will be able to buy it except for him. So that's probably what happened there. So we got to looking around a little bit more, and then I ran across this piece of land that I have now. And when I came up and looked at it, the guy that we bought it from, he'd actually bought a large ranch that was there's a I don't know if you see the videos when I go up there. When I'm backing the truck in, I'm backing off this county road. It's just gravel basically that they've plowed along there. But on the other side of that is this big ranch, and this guy was a rancher and he bought that, and he really didn't do anything with it. He wanted more land, so he bought that ranch. And then the piece that I got at one time belonged to that ranch, and I think it got split up because of the county road. But he bought it because it was being auctioned off because people that owned it had passed away, and so they were auctioning off the estate. And so he bought the ranch, and then the piece across the street came up in the auction, and he decided he'd go ahead and buy that too because he didn't want somebody buying that and building houses on it or whatever. So he bought that too. Well, it wasn't too much longer till some guy from Florida caught wind of this ranch, and he wanted it. And so they were calling the guy that I bought the land from trying to buy the ranch. He wouldn't sell it. He wouldn't sell it until finally the guy from Florida offered him so much money he just couldn't pass it up. So once he sold that, he just decided, well, I don't need this 30 acres over here. So he put it up, and it was perfect timing because that's when I was looking. The guy was, I don't know how would you explain this guy? He was a rancher. He's outspoken, young guy, really, pretty young. I was kind of surprised. He's one of those very patriotic, outspoken kind of people. And he wasn't. He told me later. He goes, "Well, I didn't know, because you guys kind of came from the." He said the city because I was by Nashville, but I'm not into the city. But he just wasn't sure that he wanted to sell it to somebody from the city. But when we pulled up there, I pulled up in my truck, and I got out, and conversation, went to right-leaning political stuff, and he was like, "All right, it's your land," So we ended up buying that land. In fact, we went up there that day and looked at it, and he walked us back. He had kind of cut a trail back into it at one time, so we found that trail and walked back in it. And on the way out, we said, "Yeah, we're going to go do the paperwork." And he says, "Okay, well, it's not anything, it's not legal yet, but hey, if you guys want to come up and camp on it or whatever, go right ahead." So that weekend we went up and camped on it, even though it wasn't our land. That was a fun thing too, because we forgot our air mattresses, and then it started raining like crazy. Let's see. What do we got here? Okay, Doug, how much longer do you think it will take you to finish up the shack? Boy, Doug, I wish I could have it done tomorrow. If you've been watching my channel, you'll know that right now I'm remodeling this place because we're going to sell it so I can get closer to the land, and we've played with the idea of getting on the land. The only thing that keeps me from getting on the land right now is the fact that I've got to work from home. I've got to have internet, and you just don't get it out there. And if you could do it with satellite, I don't get the speeds that I need. My wife and I both work from home, so we need a lot of bandwidth and a lot of upload speed, and we just can't get it out there. So now our next best bet is probably about a 30-minute drive from where we hope to go to the land. But how long will it take me? Once I get this done and sold and closer, it should get done a lot quicker because it's less time getting out there. I'm looking at my feed over here, and it was like it was stalling. Is the feed coming over okay? Anyway, I'll be closer, so I'll be able to go out there more. I'll have all this stuff. I won't have to worry about this kind of stuff, and so I'll just have more time to do it. So hopefully that'll get done quicker. Let's see. Nate's TV, hello. Thanks. You enjoy the videos. Thank you. Yankee 4. Hi, guys. How you doing? Hunter, would you consider doing your live streams around 8? Because I usually do the dishes on my night about 6:30, 7:30. I considered 7 or 8. I was thinking that 7 would be better just because, depending on how long ago, I didn't want to go too far into, like, if some people need to actually go to sleep. Yes, Meredith, the 30 acres is all forest except what I've cut down to build a shack on. Yeah, I get a lot of that, Tammy. The bug out videos, the land videos tend to be more popular than the rest. And so that's kind of one thing where I wish I could be closer so I could just do more of them. But I can't at this point. Okay, thanks, Tammy. It's better now. All right, Meredith, thank you. Thank you. Okay, so that's kind of where the land sits. Doug, I have had to resort to satellite internet working from home in the past. It's almost impossible on the feed. I've had to stalls, what else? Okay. Yeah, we do a lot of. We actually work for separately in 2 different offices and for separate organizations. But we've been lucky enough to both be able to be here at home. But that requires lots of bandwidth and lots of upload. So until we can solve that issue, I got to be somewhere where I can get it. Back to you, Hunter. I'll consider it. I know there's a lot of people that do start theirs at 8 o'clock, so it may be the way to go. Okay. Okay, well, everybody, hey, I do appreciate you stopping by to watch. I've learned a lot about this. I thought I was going to be able to, put out a like pre-event thing or something to let you know like an hour ahead of time that I was going to do this live, but I couldn't find it. But I think I know where it's at now, and I will probably do that next time. But anyways, I do appreciate everybody stopping by. I think I'm going to go ahead and jump out of here and call it a night. So if there are any more questions, you can throw them in the comments once this thing goes up on just as a video. Good night, everyone.